I have a great idea.
But I'll never do it.
It might happen. Sure, the monkeys might fly out of my butt. I don't think so.
I don't see it happening.
Hey, it's me, John.
And me, Louise.
And you're listening to I Have a Great Idea, but I'll Never Do It, the only podcast in existence that's all about the great ideas that we'll have that will never do. The ideas that keep you up late at night, that keep you going into your notes app and you're typing things at 3 a.m. And I know I've been doing them. How about you, Louise? Have you been doing them?
I've been doing them. And the thing is they're all things that at one point or another I thought I needed or wanted, but I don't have the startup or the motivation to actually make it happen. So if anybody out there listening wants to take these ideas and run with them,
Yeah,
be our guest.
absolutely. And I'm going to start off by saying an idea that I had that I have done and that I encourage everybody to go check out. Louise, you're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, but you might know. Oh, wait, I'm going to open up my beverage for a second.
That was so satisfying.
Well, because I feel like I'm not going to do much editing on this, and it's like I want to acknowledge the sounds that are being made, such as the fact that one of my dogs is like over in the corner, like trying to burrow himself into a little hole in a pile of old dog beds.
Adorable.
Oh, he figured it out. So I had this idea, and I won't talk about like the full thing because this might be something that I end up doing at some point, like for real.
Okay.
But I kind of have the starting foundation for a much larger idea, which is called the Walt. Louise, did I tell you about the Walt? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
you did.
So Walt, W-A-L-T, stands for Watch and Learn Theater, and it is a documentary. It is a hub for documentary, either enthusiasts or people who are just kind of curious about the world and like to learn through documentary film. Maybe they don't have the time to read an entire book and retain all that information, and perhaps a documentary film is the best way to learn about the world. And so I started this on Substack. So if you go to thewalt.substack.com, THEWALT.substack.com, you can sign up for free, and it's an online discussion forum. And so that at the beginning of each month, I send out a message to the entire community that says, hey, here's the documentary of the month. Here's some information about it. Here's the trailer. Here's some things to think about while you're watching it. Here's where you can watch it for free online. So it'll include, the usual streaming services, and there's a survey that goes out when you sign up that lets me know what people are subscribed to, but also it's like the free ad-supported ones are also going to be there. And I really want to try to find ones that are also on streaming services like Canopy or Hoopla, which are free if you have a library card. So those ones are not like ad supported, and they connect to the libraries. So that's like the best case scenario, I feel. And throughout the course of the month, I send out more messages with like other kind of prompts for discussion. It's, a lot like just like a book club, but for documentary films. And so there's also, it's free to sign up, but there's also a paid tier. It's $5 a month. And at that level, there's bonus content that either I have sourced myself or the, filmmakers have kind of donated to us. There's also access to the whole archives, but also there's input on future documentaries. So, for example, we are recording this towards the end of February. I have sent a message to the paid subscribers to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about for the month of March, and here's why I chose it. And because you are in the subscriber tier, you have the option to, push back and say, actually, I don't think it's such a good idea. And that's input that, once people start saying things like that, I'd be glad to take into consideration. But I feel like I'm making thoughtful decisions with my documentary picks. So thewalt.substack.com is where
I
it's
dig
at.
it. Oh my gosh, I dig it.
Yeah. But yeah, Louise, have you had any great ideas lately?
I have. And I just want to preface with it's been a hot second, again, since we've podcasted. And I believe it was also my challenge from last time. But
Okay.
if I repeat myself, be like, party foul, you did that last time. Because I didn't archive my notes, which I usually do. So, idea number 1, bell bracelets. I've been doing a lot of commuting, hybrid job into the city, and there is 2 specific escalators in Grand Central that I take on the regular. And one of them's a short one, so if I get behind a person carrying 5 million bags and I just have to stand there on my step and wait, because I am a walker up an escalator person. It makes me feel like the $1 Million Man, like, or whatever that guy. So like I'm walking up a staircase and the staircase is moving. And so I'm getting up there doubly fast. And when you get stuck behind a person on the exceedingly long escalator, it just feels like an eternity. Bell bracelets, very much like a bicycle, where it'll go bring, bring on your left without having to actually tap a human for them to turn around and possibly go down the escalator.
So like
on
a
the
bicycle
stairs.
bell.
That's right. But wearable with a little lever so that you can wear it and it's not jingle jangling like jingle bells or like you're a dog with dog tags, but like a little lever that you can bring on your left.
Yeah, I that's a really interesting one in the sense that like for some people it could be like oh my God, I'm so sorry, but for some other people it might just be like the equivalent of honking a horn. I am not a horn honker.
Ooh.
I am not a horn honker at all.
I am.
I honk a horn only if there's imminent danger or if a light has changed to green and the person just clearly hasn't noticed, and I give a little burp, that. But
I feel like this has been in our years and years of podcasting a thing that we've brought up, and how you should be able to ooga or beep beep, hi friend.
Oh yeah, the different
like,
levels
get
of
out
what
of the way!
different horns for different occasions.
Yes. I just like fashion with function. And so bring on your left, like it doesn't have to say on your left. It's just also be considerate of the commuters around you. And if you're going to chill out on a step, move as far to one side of the step as you can so that the walkers can still walk.
Okay. Counterpoint. If somebody honks their horn at me, like if somebody's on a bicycle and they use their bell, it's a safety thing every single time.
Yes.
It's a safety thing. If somebody honks their horn, that's going to ruin my day. It's going to be on my mind all day. Even if they're not honking at me, maybe they're honking at somebody else, but it's just like, were they honking at me? Did I do something? What did I do? It's going to absolutely ruin my day. So
counterpoint.
Yes.
It's not a honking bracelet.
Oh, I get that. It doesn't matter what the
ring.
It doesn't matter what the noise is. It's the indication of somebody's displeasure.
You know what? I hear you. And then I want to triple that counter and say, do you think that maybe as somebody who lives on the West Coast and has for a time is a little bit more sensitive to the honking and the move out of the way mentality than someone who has lived in New York City for a very long time?
And that could be. That could be. I
don't know. I feel like I'm one of the more generous people walking the streets with like a good attitude.
I think, so I grew up, you know this, I grew up just outside of New York. And so I spent a lot of time there. And during the times where I have either considered living in New York or if I've been working in New York and like couch surfing or whatever, the one thing that has made me think like, I could never live here is all of the people honking, all of the impatience.
There's a lot of impatience. It's
Yeah.
not just honking. It's on the sidewalk too.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking about your situation where you're on this escalator and somebody's got 10 bags. If they wanted to move, they would move. If they wanted to be considerate of other people getting up that escalator on the left, they would create the space.
I mean,
But perhaps this is just my cynicism about the the inner monologue of an average New Yorker.
I just wanted an excuse to buy new jewelry too.
Yeah, well, that's a thing. Yeah. Email us, greatideapod@gmail.com, if you have any input on this situation. Are you a horn honker? Are you would you be a bell chimer? I would love to know. Maybe I'll put this, Spotify has this thing where for each episode, you can put up like a question or like a poll. Maybe I'll see if I can do that for all of you Spotify listeners.
Okay, neat.
Spotify users. Yeah. Ooh, interesting. See, I totally see where you're coming from. And I understand the benefit that this would have. And also, this would not be a costly endeavor for somebody to actually create.
Get on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would pay upwards of $40 for this.
It might take a few decades for people to catch on to what's going on, but that's okay. It has to start somewhere.
Also, it might spur mass confusion. Like, bring, bring. Is there a bike on this escalator?
Frickin' bicycle? Okay. Is there a child on a tricycle? Okay. All right.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Louise, what are you drinking over there?
I am drinking some tea.
Lovely.
It's a new flavor. I don't want to brand it out because we don't have a sponsor yet. But Tazo Tea, Tazo.
Oh.
If you'd like to sponsor our podcast, call us up.
Yeah.
Or email us.
Wouldn't that be funny? I have a great idea, but I'll never do it. It comes out 3 times a year at best. Sponsored by Tazo Tea.
Can you imagine? It's a
we
new flavor.
We used to do the show every 2 weeks. Do you remember that?
Yes. I do remember.
It's a new flavor. It's a new flavor. What do we got?
It's a new flavor to me. It's wild orange.
Ooh, look at
and
you,
so,
crazy.
I used to work in a tea house. And so a tea in a tea bag, to me, a tea snob, was like, poo-poo on that. But now that I don't work in a tea house, I'm like, really jonesing for some tea. And somebody was like, have you tried? And I was like, you know what? I haven't. And I'm gonna. It's delightful.
I feel like lately, unless I have like a cold and I need something that has special ingredients in it, I'm typically a sleepy time tea guy, and that's kind of my lane. It's
comfort.
I'm a slut for that bear. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, let me see. Oh, I have a jewelry idea. This connects with your
Get out of
idea.
town. Okay, neat.
Okay, so I have a number of collared shirts that have the collar that buttons down to the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I want my collars to flow free and not be confined to button jail where they're forced to stay in a certain spot. But when you unbutton those, then you have the buttonhole. That's a little unsightly. And so I feel like, why not have some sort of cufflink-like jewelry? It's for decorative purposes only. Little gems. Little something to put in there.
Little charms.
Little charms.
Oh my God, I love.
Purely fashionable.
Men can totally accessorize.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why aren't we doing this? We have jewelry for Crocs. Come on.
Yes.
It can be the same form factor as a cufflink, where it's kind of like you stick it in and then you rotate the thing and then you're good to go. They could be clip-ons, from the outsides. I don't know.
You could
have
be
really cool
themes. Like you could have like a clover, because you said March, and now I'm thinking, let's see, Patrick's Day is coming up, and on the others, you could have a sunshine because you're like an easygoing surfer dude and you're in your free-flowing collar, not button jail.
Yeah, I can't be confined, much like my collar, to this shirt.
That's right. Ooh, I like it. You know, it's so funny. Not that I don't want to dwell on this, but I have a note about another idea that says very much like collar stays. So, you know how on those like shirts
I think that
they have the
have you talked about this before?
insertable-
Yes. The darts?
The collar stays?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope not. Maybe swappable buttons?
Swappable buttons.
No. Okay, so you know how a collar stay to keep your collar nice and starched. They get those little plastic inserts that go up from the side that the dry cleaner will give you, or if you have a fancy shirt, the store will give you. Or you can buy them, or they can be metal and engraved with your name. What do I know? But it's like a piece to make it like more functional or look a different way. And I want buttons. These are obviously for the podcasters. I am now referring to the shirt I'm currently wearing.
We'll put this up on our. This will be on our YouTube channel. You can watch this.
Great. It's a snap. It's not a button. But what if we had snappable buttons so that the front of your button didn't have to be tortoise shell or white opal or whatever. It could be like whatever. And you snap it on, snap it off in the same way that you would a collar stay, because you take the collar stays out when you dry clean it or wash
suit.
it.
It's like a little suit for your buttons.
Yes.
Oh my God. And for anybody who's watching this, Louise's gestures must be turned on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, earlier, and I didn't want to comment on it, but earlier when you were talking about the Walt, I did 2 thumbs up because the gesture for 2, and then I made a sad face because the gesture for 2 thumbs up is fireworks, but it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. So on Apple computers, there's this whole gesture situation or reactions.
Yeah.
And you can do a heart. Turn mine on. Let's see. I'm going to do thumbs down. Does mine do anything? Nope. I don't know.
Riveting podcasting.
I know.
Brought to you by Tazo Tea. Tazo Tea.
Tazo Tea. Tazo Tea. It's
coming your way.
It's hot. If you want it to be, that's what their slogan should be. Just add water.
Just add water.
That's actually a really good slogan for a tea company.
I know. Great ideas. Giving out slogans for free.
They're such great ideas. You know, I'm struggling with this because I know this was an idea that I had where I remember waking up and like early in the morning, and I wrote this down, and I even remember like talking about it afterward and explaining what it was, but I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what this means. So maybe you can actually help me out with this. So we're all over escape rooms, right? We're done with those?
I think so.
There's something else that we need to do with those facilities. So I feel like there needs to be an escape room-like place that's created for more of like therapeutic reasons, that where you can recreate like dramatic life experiences. And I can't remember if this was for like recreating something to get over a trauma. That could be something. Or if it's kind of like I really want to have like an emotional breakup in the rain or something like that. And then it's like it can facilitate this, fantasy scenario for you. All I have written is dramatic life experience facility for emulation purposes, like an escape room. And I don't remember anything else about it. I likely wrote it. I probably wrote it like the day after we recorded our last episode.
And that's how it happens. It's we're flexing this creative muscle, and then right after we podcast, we're like, oh, I have all these ideas now. Yeah. Exactly. So 2 things I'm thinking is like, oh man. So the first thing, do you get to go through the layers of escaping when you have the breakthrough? Like, I do have daddy issues, and then they unlock a door.
You're only allowed to get out once you've gotten over your trauma.
Yeah, when you
once you've
heal,
recognized your trauma,
that's when you can get out. And then the other thing would be like dramatic recreations of things that you want to experience, so you can like have people in a safe space with you, like doing the things with you. As an example, I'm a few weeks behind on This American Life, but for Valentine's Day, they did an episode about like lightning strike, love at first sight versus like mathematically, systematically finding your person.
Okay.
Like, is it a numbers game? Date a million people in the world and then find the one who has the most checklist things on your list, or don't try so hard, get a feeling and a gut feeling. And if you never get that gut feeling, XYZ. But with your escape room idea, it's like, oh my gosh, I always wanted to meet somebody at a bar. So you have these actors come in.
Actors.
It's set up like a bar. I mean, sure, it's just,
Yeah.
it's for fun. It's an experience you can have. Like, I always wanted to throw a glass of water on my partner at like breaking up with them at like a cafe. So they set it up like a cafe, you know, at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, you're going to go faux break up and like get the closure with an actor and other actors and possibly some friends if they get to like be either other patrons at the fake cafe, or if they get to like be behind a mirrored glass and like watch you have this like cathartic thing. Because maybe yeah, you never got to say to that person like all the things that you wanted to say. Or because I just recently listened to another podcast that was super, super tragic one. I think the podcast is called The Last Day, but the host goes through with people like recent experiences of them losing someone dear to them.
Ooh,
and a friend of mine lost her husband like 2 months after they got married to like a freak brain heart thing. I'm not really clear on the medical details because most of the podcast was actually her like reliving like parts of her wedding day and parts of their relationship that were like really super, super lovely. But how like great would it be if you thought, oh, I always wanted to go to our child's graduation. Like if somebody, let's say, you know, God forbid, has, you know, a miscarriage or something and they don't have the child with their partner, and then the partner passes away and they're like, you know what, let's stage a high school graduation. And we get to like, I don't know. I'm just, you can, it's like your fantasy and you get to sort of like have that. She's currently in another relationship and she's like, the guy is great. I'm scared a little to talk about, you know, him because I have like PTSD because I screamed the praises from the rooftops of the previous guy and look what happened, even though that's not really how life works. But she's like, he lets me, you know, talk about him and remember fondly in a way that's really, really helpful to me. And it's weird because we don't know how to, as a society, at least I think, this is my opinion, we never know what to say to people who are hurting. And a lot of times the things that people say, and I'm speaking totally from myself and experience, is like the opposite of what I want to hear. Like everything happens for a reason. And I'm
no, never say
really
that.
Doesn't. So, and
that
so
doesn't
like,
make anybody feel better.
It really doesn't. But in your escape room sort of fantasy thing, you could be like, I want to tell off my relatives who are being really mean to my mom. And then you could have people sit in for your relatives and then, you know, yell at them on a couch.
Well, this is okay. That
or meet
actually,
or kiss somebody in the rain.
Right.
You know, you sign a waiver.
Yeah, that one you might need to have somebody, you know, that you're perhaps in some sort of romantic relationship with. I don't know. That one could be a little dicey, but what you're talking about is actually making me think of that show, The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder, where he sets up very elaborate, true to life rehearsals for people who are they are trying to figure out how they're going to approach a certain difficult situation.
Oh my God, I've
It's-
never heard of this show. I need to write it
What?
down.
Really?
I live in a hole under a rock.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, I won't say too much more because this show takes some very fascinating twists and turns. But, for example, in the first episode, there is somebody who is in a bar trivia group, and all of his friends in that group think he has an advanced degree, but he does not. And he's been living this lie and wants to tell one of his close friends that's in this group the truth. So what they do is they completely, I think that actually, is it Lizard Lounge, I think is what it's called in New York. Or Alligator Lounge, I don't know. But there's this bar, and they completely rebuilt it down to like every single last detail in a warehouse, actually out here in Oregon. And they had it functioning. Like, everything looked as it did in the actual real bar. And they had actors who not only looked like the people who he was going to be having this interaction with, but actually like observed the real people without them knowing what was going on and study them. It's completely
This is wild.
It's incredible. And
okay,
so,
I think I like it
yeah.
already.
It's amazing. The rehearsal. Yeah, check it out.
And I don't tend to like weird twists on reality shows. Like, I much prefer a scripted thing. But this sounds really wild.
Let me see. Where is it? I think it's on Hulu. It's on HBO Max, and it's on Hulu and Prime. So it is out there. But it is, you'll never expect to see where it goes. But anyway.
I'm going to have to carve out some free time for that.
Right. What you were saying made me think of that. So.
Or I don't know what it could be. I mean, it could be anything. You can petition them or call a hotline and say, you know, whatever. I'd really like to flip a table.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like that might have been where I was originally coming from with this, is just like, you know, that type of a situation where there's like breakaway bottles and stuff that you can, you know, chairs that are designed to be like broken on somebody and things like that.
Or this is totally unrelated, but halfway related.
Totally unrelated.
But kind of related. Wait, hear me out. There was like a public pillow fight in Washington Square Park maybe 10 years ago. Maybe I don't really have a concept of time anymore since I had a baby.
The flash mob era.
Yes. And I went to that, and it was like bring your own pillow, and after the pillow fight, if you wanted to donate it, they would give the pillows to, I don't know if they were dog shelters or like, you know, whatever, to so that you brought your own pillow, and if it was still halfway intact and you didn't want to carry it with you, they would collect them. Anyway, it was one of the most fun, like, random New York experiences that I had, and you could call the hotline for the Weird Therapeutic Escape Room and be like, I want to have a group pillow fight.
Yeah. There you go.
It could be so great.
You know, as you're talking about this, it's making me think, like, you know, where flash mobs were a thing, you know, 10, 15 years ago, especially, I'm thinking about Washington Square Park specifically, that has now become a venue for TikTokers to say, you know, take $5 or double it and give it to the next person, or to interview random people. Like, every time I see one of those, not every time, but most times when I see one of those, it's in Washington Square Park. I feel like that place is just filled with TikTokers waiting for somebody to walk by and
I was going to say, are the people that are residents of that neighborhood who are just trying to walk their dogs, like running into people with the handy cams, like everywhere, just being like, get out of the way, I just need my dog to poop?
Louise, you sound like you're 100 years old. With their handy cams?
I don't
With their
know.
phones? With their telephones? Hit their handy cams?
I am 100 years old today.
Well, I think that's one of the things, is like, they don't show the people who snub them and just walk by them or whatever. But you know, of course people stop and talk to these people. And I feel like it's gotten to the point where a lot of these people are, you know, recognizable, and it's just like, oh, I was wondering when I was going to run into you kind of a situation.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like Washington Square Park is becoming a place where it's like, you know, before you go there, you better have, you know, your outfit dialed in. You better have things like all figured out, because there's a good chance you're going to end up on somebody's TikTok, and you never know what's going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah.
Washington Square Park is the new soda fountain.
Well, I mean, because it's right at NYU. It's going to be a hub for like people who are of that generation. So, yeah. Do you have anything on your list, or do you want me to keep going?
I have more things on my list.
Then let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, if we go back to fashion, I have lately been embracing a straight leg or a wide leg pant, maybe even a flare, after years and years of, you know, we'll call them my teenage years, when my mom would say, like, don't you just want to wear a cigarette pant or a capri pant like Mary Tyler Moore?
What's a cigarette pant?
It's like a straight leg pant that sort of tapers a little.
Gotcha.
It is of the times.
Gotcha.
And I would be like, I will never wear anything but a boot cut or a flare jean. And then, of course, I go to college.
When I met you, I feel like you were in some sort of flared jean situation.
Oh, yeah. Flare pants. The only pants I ever wore were either like highly patterned and flare, or, yes, I loved it. And then time goes on, we'll call it 20 years, and now I'm like, I will never not wear skinny jeans because of the way that my body looks. And when I'm 5'1.5", 5'2" on a good day. And so when
you're
I
feeling
wear,
confident.
That's right. Or if I've gone to yoga and my spine is all elongated, and my hair's puffed up. No. So 5'1.5". And if I wear a high-waisted pant that is wide leg and straight, I feel like I am 3 feet tall, just because of like the way that it makes my body look. I might have body dysmorphia. I'm not sure, but I've embraced it. I'm trying to be hip. I have 2 pairs of pants that fall into the category of either a flare slash or wide leg pant. And as I'm walking in New York City in January and February, and I have my little Dr. Scholl's slip-on shoes because I am an old person, and my little ankle socks, are my ankles a-quaking. So what if we had sort of like poodle socks?
Leg warmers?
Yes, like leg warmers, but they like puffed out at the bottom like a French dog's haircut.
Okay.
Instead of me having to wear a boot, I just put on my poodle socks.
Got it. So you're saying that you're wearing some sort of flared pant, and this poof fills up that space.
That's right. So it's
But you're
not
wearing the
getting
shoes
windy.
that you're comfortable in. There's no pressure to have a boot on.
Right.
Got it.
Because if I'm a commuter, I want to wear a sneaker. And then when I get to work, I change into different shoes anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of times, too, I feel like with the amount of walking I'm doing on both sides of the train, if I wear a boot, it's just going to slow me down because they're heavier.
Well, not if there's wheels on the bottom of those and you're roller skating away.
Hey!
I remember when I was just out of college. So this was 2005, probably, maybe 2006. Maybe 2006. I was working this job in New York, and I was working with a friend of mine. He was my camp counselor when I was a teen, and we just always stayed in touch. And he had this, web design company, and he brought me on to do like some graphic design stuff. And he wore these shoes that had detachable rollerblade things, which was like, I mean, much love to him, but they were dorky then.
I was
They were
going to say,
really-
I need to get these.
Yeah. I'm perhaps there is a way to do it now. And also I feel like roller skating, not so much rollerblading, is, coming back in a really interesting way. And there's also a way to do it where it's less like, you're somebody living in not the Matrix, the outside of the Matrix, something like that. But you're just like a fun person who just wants to get around town faster.
Without having to lug a scooter
Oh yeah, go
or a bicycle.
No
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Ding ding, ringing little bell coming through.
Mhm.
In
On your
which
left.
case, if you're on skates, the bell makes sense.
That's right. It's a safety
Yeah.
issue then.
Then it's a safety thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I dig that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Sure.
It's just like a little coziness for your ankle.
yeah,
And it's not sacrificing the style of the pant. It's just keeping you warm and keeping it
Yeah.
from the chilling breezes from coming up your pant leg.
sure. I also want to say I admire your attempts to keep up with the ever rapid changing fashions regarding
Thanks.
pants, because I'm always in a situation where I'm just like, not always, I'm not like every single day just being like, what's happening right now? But like, okay, the pants that I have are the pants that have worked for me for this many years. And first of all, it's expensive to experiment and with something like clothing.
Mhm.
And also, it's really difficult to find the confidence to, say like this, this is what I look like with this, and it's different than the way I maybe see myself. And a different pant can really change the way that you're feeling. And if you're not ready to go for it, then you're risking the societal impacts of such a thing, and it's not fair.
It's just not easy either.
Yeah. No. And like I said, it's also it's pricey. You can't just go spending money like rolling the dice that like a certain pant is gonna work for you suddenly.
Yeah.
Come on.
And again, as a shorty, I often, if a company makes short or
Mm-hmm.
super short,
Mm.
sometimes we'll even call that cropped.
Okay.
That's probably the length of my inseam.
Okay.
But if it's just a regular pant, not only am I paying for the pant, but I gotta have that altered.
Getting stuff altered. Who's funding this?
I mean, right now it's just me, but otherwise I'm stepping on my trousers.
Yeah. Joe Biden, while we're going ahead and forgiving, student loan debt, why don't we give everybody a little incentive to up their wardrobe, refresh the wardrobe a little bit.
I've been seeing
know?
a lot of sweatsuits in airplane TikToks.
Mm.
Let's dress up for air travel again.
Oh,
Let's look sharp.
This is a hot one. So I'm with you. I don't know if I could ever confidently go outside wearing my comfy clothes. It's just not something I can physically do.
Mm-hmm.
Is that me showing my age? Is that an age thing?
I don't know. I will
Ooh.
say I cared a lot more when I lived in the city, when I
Mhm.
thought I would run into people, and I cared a lot more before I had a child. When I had an infant and even, a toddler now, sometimes I'm like doing the best I can. And the caring for how I look goes out the window a little bit. But I will tell you, I dressed up recently, and when I say dressed up, I mean put on some
Mhm.
ballet flats and some skinny jeans and like a silk blouse and a jacket.
Okay.
And my husband was like, wow. And I was like, oh my God, I have been wearing sweatpants and like,
Oh, the bar has been lowered. Interesting.
yeah,
I
like
didn't realize
sweatshirts and
this.
sweatpants for so long that I put on like a belt and a jacket, and you go, wow,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
this is a lot of effort.
No, totally. I mean, I'm glad that we're all giving ourselves a little bit of flexibility. I think that COVID definitely, kind of created that pathway where it's just like, look, we're all going through a lot. We just need to be comfortable. And then that's like, if nothing else, at least I'm comfortable. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And I definitely have transitional clothing, which is not the clothing I wear outside, but not my jammies. So the second I come home, I put on transitional clothing.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not alone. My friend group does it too.
Is that like what you're wearing now?
That's right.
This like fleecy situation.
Yeah, I got a half snap fleece pullover, a t-shirt. I'm wearing sweatpants, socks, and Crocs.
Socks and Crocs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never.
They're Beatles socks.
I've never, and I know that this is gonna sound punny, and I just don't know any other way to say it, but I have never dipped my toe into the world of Crocs.
I bought them as a joke.
That's what everybody says.
And I also got them to match my toddler daughter.
Lots of Croc talk on this episode so far.
That's right. Croc talk.
Croc talk.
But I got them as a joke to match the Crocs that I bought my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband said, well, now I feel left out. So I bought him a pair of Crocs, and they were supposed to be strictly like garden clogs because they're really, really easy to clean if they get muddy or whatever. And in the winter months, I'm like, well, these can't be strictly for gardening. I got to wear these inside when the floor's cold.
Yeah. See, I've come to realize at this stage in my life that there are certain things that I experience that perhaps are more of like sensory things that I never realized were like, oh, not everybody feels this way. Okay. And when I think about a Croc, I think about a very solid form factor. And that doesn't have like give, but that's also very roomy. And I imagine that or maybe I'm wrong, but for me, if I'm having something on my feet, I need it to fit just right. Because if there's anything that's too loose or too tight, it's just going to bother me, and it's just going to be all that I think about. And so I'm wearing these shoes right now by a company called Vessi, Vessi.
I have a pair of Vessi.
Oh, I love my Vessis because they're very flexible. They're waterproof.
Based in Vancouver.
Is that true? Okay.
They're a company out of the Couve.
Cool. Well, they do great work. I own several pairs of their shoes because I feel like they form well to my foot. They breathe really well, and I feel like the size is just right, and they're flexible enough. And also it's like, hey, if Crocs are your thing, fantastic. My daughter tried them on, didn't like them. And I was like, okay, you're just not going to be a Croc kid. That's all.
I have 2 pairs of Crocs for my toddler daughter and one.
Hey, the balloons. How did that happen?
I think I did.
Okay.
2.
Everyone go to our YouTube channel. We'll link to it in the episode's description so you can watch what's going on. They go behind you too? Wow, that's madness.
I really want the fire.
Hey, there we go.
There we go.
Is it thumbs up and like a smiley face kind of
you
a
might
thing?
have to have Muppet mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the gesture is. I like to accidentally do it and be like, whoa, and try to recreate it and be like, whoa, because it doesn't work. Anyway, I got her American flag Croc shoes because there was a time where she was obsessed with American flags. And then the first Crocs, which were as a joke so that we could do matchy. And then they're a little more flexible than you would think. But as I'm saying this, and we're talking about shoes and the way they fit and good stuff, and I'm looking across the screen at your microphone, it is reminding me, and of course, dating us, but the Adidas, like sandal with the giant
Oh yeah,
Velcro across the top that
I
had like
certainly had
the
those at
bed
some
of
point.
nails.
Yes,
The bed of nails that your feet would go on. It was like plastic, hard plastic.
They'd always come off too. So gross.
Yes. But I had them.
I had them too. Yeah.
I had them. And I just because your microphone has those like 3.
It's funny. Yeah, it does have some like stripes on it. It's so I'm thinking about those sandals and going back to the talk about our Vessi sneakers. So I have a pair that has always been so comfortable, but I have worn them down. I've worn the soles down so much that there are actual holes in the bottom of them that like my foot would be touching the ground. And so I use those effectively as like the kind of slippers that I wear only when I'm like walking from like the inside of my house into my garage. If I'm like, that's where my laundry is, that's where the dog food is. I only ever wear those to the point that my dogs, when they see me put them on, get excited because they think that food is going to happen.
Oh
but
my God.
sometimes it's laundry. But it's the heel to them is no longer standing upright. It is smushed down because I just slip them on and go and do my thing, and then I come back. Yeah.
You got to love that comfort there.
Yeah. Speaking of dogs and walking through doorways, I have another idea.
Okay.
And this one, I think, has been sitting in this thing for a while because I'm not like as in love with this idea as a lot of the other ones. But Louise, you also have a wonderful dog. I
Sure
have
do.
2 dogs. My dogs, they have a doggy door that goes out to the backyard. They go out, they do their business on their time and their schedule. I know it's not the best, practice, but it's the way that works best right now. And I live in Portland, Oregon, on rainy days when they come in and it's like their little paws are just a little wet. It's just like, and I have yet to find a great solution for, getting to them quickly enough. And so, yes, of course, there are mats that can go in that spot. But for doorways, let's say a door is opening inward into a room. I feel like if there's a doggy door on that door, if there's a fixed to the door fabric that's like moisture wicking kind of a fabric that like slides along with the door, that doesn't get trapped under the door, because sometimes you have like a little mat, but the door goes over it and it gets jammed and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So a little thing that attaches to the bottom of the door, it swings with the door. The dogs can get their paws on it. It's all good. It dries them off a little bit, and they go tip, 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 and it's all good. That's all.
I like it.
It's not great. The more I talk
like
about it, the
though.
less I like it.
But there isn't a great solution for drying the paws unless you have a dog small enough that you can just scoop them up and pick them up, which small dog people can do. But if you have a larger dog or a medium dog, I would say
Yeah.
our collective 3 dogs are classified as medium.
I have one that's on the smaller side, but he hates being
He's wily.
picked up. He's very wily. He doesn't like being picked up so much, and he does not like me to towel him off.
Mhm.
Daisy, the larger of the 2, she's about 30 pounds. She doesn't mind when I towel her off at all. She's a good dog. Rufio is not a good dog. I'm just kidding, buddy. He's just sleeping over there behind me.
He's like, huh?
Little cutie.
But yeah, unless you take the effort to put those little like shoes or balloons on their feet for them to go on and then take
they
those
would
off.
Never.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
also
just
I have free range dogs that go
That's
in
right.
and out as they please.
as they please. Yeah, there's just not a great solution. So there needs to be something, yes, in thresholds.
Yeah. Or not.
Not.
Or not.
What do we know?
Yeah, and perhaps there are solutions out there that I'm just not considering.
If you know a solution, email us.
Yeah. Louise, do you remember what I challenged you to at the end of the last episode?
I do.
What did I challenge you to?
You challenged me to regular potting.
Oh yeah. How can we get on a better schedule?
How can we do this more regularly? And I think I might have a solution.
And I will say, Louise, you have been really on top of it lately with reaching out to be like, hey, when can you do this? When can you do this? Let's figure this out. And much appreciated.
No problem. I want to do this. I just feel like the more I try to juggle things and keep plates twirling in the air, the more I'm like, you know what? I can add this other plate. And it just turns out that plates fall. Yeah. But I think the solution to regular potting is great news alert. My mom is selling her house in Iowa. And after a lifetime of living in Iowa.
Are you suggesting that you and I buy it from her and move there and
that's
just
right.
podcast every day?
We both moved to Iowa, and it's podcasting compound. No, she's selling her house and moving to an apartment not far from where I live.
Cool.
And if that can be some sort of built-in childcare and entertainment for my tot, then it will allow me the freedom of an hour and 15 minutes to regularly say, hey, friend, I have some great ideas. Do you? Yeah.
Right.
So the solution is move your mom across the country.
Move your mom across the country. Yeah, there you go. Well, it's only halfway across the country.
It's 1,000 miles. Yeah.
It's a good thou. All right.
It's a third of the way.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm glad that you're doing it.
Yeah. Do you remember what I challenged you to?
So you challenged me to a wet bathroom sink situation, like water on the faucets. And before I talk about ideas for this, I have questions for you about your hand washing methods, because I feel like this has a lot of variables to it. I know that there are a lot of these, the motion sensor, whether it's a faucet or a soap dispenser, thing like that. And so, and some people towel their hands off at different times, different stages. So I'm curious to know what your method is.
So I'll tell you what mostly is the issue is that when I go to wash my face,
it's washing the face.
I fix the faucet, and we don't have two handles, one for hot, one for cold, to calibrate. We just have the one, and you got to find the sweet spot. Feel like I find the sweet spot. I start washing my face.
I hear an upset child.
I know.
Uh-oh.
I know. Well, bedtime is hard, and mom is podcasting. Yeah. So, like, the routine is a little bit off kilter. So I'm washing my face. I find the sweet spot. And then what happens is I think the water heater really shows me what it's made of. So I go to put my hands under the water to splash my face again to get the soap off. And then I'm like scalding myself, and I'm like, ah! So I touch the faucet again to calibrate it. And then when I'm all done, I've got water all over the counter in some way. Because if it was just, like, get the soap, wash your hands, get the thing, it's more involved than that. I feel like it's more involved.
Okay. So here's where I'm at. We have a lot of, and I say we as a culture, got a lot of stuff going on in these bathrooms. Typically there's a mirror. There's got to be some sort of light situation. Perhaps there's a cabinet. There are certain things that used to exist that aren't really things anymore, such as the bathroom cabinets that had the little slot in them where people would put their old razors and they fall into the wall. We've done away with that, but we have adapted to not doing that anymore. So certainly we can adapt to something new. So what I'm thinking is perhaps it's underneath the mirror, but a place where you can have a retractable, like a chamois cloth.
I love it.
You retract the chamois cloth. I already love it. You just wipe it up. If we are talking only water, then, perhaps, and maybe it doesn't need to be laundered every single time. But I'm not suggesting anything that's disposable because that is bad for the environment. Certainly, there is a some sort of suitable and nice looking, piece of cloth that can go zip, wipe, 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 zip, zip, and it goes right back into its spot.
I feel like also we could do one that's like on its own spool. So like I feel like in my elementary school we had these like cloth. It was like a metal box, and it was like a U-shaped like
Yeah.
draping hanging, and you'd pull it down to the dry part and you dry your hands, and then the next person would pull
Yeah.
it down and dry their hand, and it would just hang until it was like back up in.
Mhm.
And once you get through the spool, like on the machine, then you take it off and you can launder it in your own house if it's
I wonder because I saw that in like an old movie recently, and I'm
Really?
wondering like, yeah, I can't remember what it was because I didn't think that I'd have to talk about it on a podcast, but I think that's a really cool thing, and I'm wondering there must be some sort of practical reason why they did away with that because it seems like such a
Yeah.
good idea. But I like it. But yeah, it was cloth. It was not like a paper towel.
Although I will say that I saw recently also on Instagram like an old ad for like a refrigerator from the 50s.
Oh,
and I
they
was
don't-
like-
they make them so much worse now.
I was going to say like I want that feature.
Yeah.
So maybe there isn't a good reason why they did away with it. Maybe they just did cuz.
Okay, not to be like a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I know that there are a lot of things that went away because they meant that certain industries wouldn't be needed anymore. It's like, making things that need to be replaced every, 15 years or something. Whereas there are people who have refrigerators from like, the 1950s that are working great and never have issues. And it's like now if you have something that goes wrong, like to replace, like they don't make the part, so you have to just get a new refrigerator or something. And yeah, and it's terrible. But it's kind of like how electric cars predated gas cars. And once I think it was Benz created like the gasoline car, it created the need for gas stations and more, jobs for people. So that's a thing. There's a documentary Who Killed the Electric Car from a long time ago, and it's great.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it still holds up. thewalt.substack.com. Not saying we talk about that movie, but it's a documentary, and we love documentaries.
Sure do.
So, Louise, I have a challenge for you for our next episode. And this is unlike a lot of our other challenges. This is one that I thought of in advance.
Okay.
Okay. So, you and we've talked at length on this episode about how we are of a certain age. Let's just say that the category of that age, it begins with a 4. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
We're not afraid to say that.
No.
So, we are now being exposed to younger generations and the inventions of younger generations that define them in certain ways. And so Gen Z has developed new slang words based off of, you're rolling your eyes, but this is a reality that we live in. And I just want to remind you that the boomers rolled their eyes at us. So I try to have an open mind. And there are words like Riz, short for charisma, being more popular. There is a new one that baffles me. And when I hear it, I'm like, I can't believe we're actually taking this seriously. People are saying delulu to mean delusional. Have you heard of this one?
No.
Maybe I'm delulu. Or maybe like as a short for like delusion, like maybe this is a delulu. But
Wow.
I
I've
think
heard of
that's You've heard of what?
Eej Bowl.
What's Eej Bowl?
I just burst out laughing. It
Wow.
replaces LOL. Eej Bowl.
Eej
But you
Bowl.
don't spell it. You say Eej Bowl.
Fascinating. Because IJB OL has never been an acronym that people have said. They went straight to, wow, okay. So, but anyway, there's a challenge in this.
Okay.
Louise, I want you to make a new slang word.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I personally like this one because it's not an invention. It's not anything that it's not like solving a problem. It's completely ridiculous. And that's what I love about it. And I feel like 52 episodes in, we haven't really done anything like that.
I love it. Wow. Yeah. Think of what you can do when you apply yourself.
Okay.
Amazing. My challenge for you
Uh-huh.
is, because it's what's on my mind lately, and how to make it easier or better or more fun. Interior paint.
Just anything about interior paint.
There's got to be, I mean, I can spitball some of the issues. If you're not like a visual person and you're not somebody who's good at coordinating things together, you've got your chairs, you've got your couch, you're moving from one place to another.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make the walls? It's the easiest, cheapest way to make a place feel like home. And yet, you flip through magazines, or at least, people of our generation flip through physical magazines.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that looks good in a magazine, but I don't have furniture like that, so that paint color is not going to pop in the same way. Or, I'm drawn to this color, but I'm scared of it. So there's got to, or how they have now those larger peel and stick swatches, instead of having to buy a pint and paint it on yourself and then look at it in different lights. There's got to be just something to think about.
And it is something that I will think about and have some sort of solution for you.
I can't wait.
Cool. Well, I've had an awesome time doing this. I know you have an impatient child that you need to get to. I just want to encourage everybody to go to thewalt.substack.com. Email us, greatideapod@gmail.com, with your great ideas, and we'll read them on the show. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen.
All the things.
I just made a new theme song for my other podcast, Ruined Childhoods. So I just debuted that one. Give it a listen. It's really silly. And I've been unemployed for a long time, and I'm really antsy. So I do things like making new theme songs for podcasts. So
it's time for a change.
Yeah. All
right.
Louise, is there anything you want to shout out?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, then thanks for hanging out with me.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
I don't see it happening.